Alright, I'm doing this one outside, so we have some natural light. I'm concerned about the cabinet in this 68 Pro Reverb. You can see a huge gap here between the baffle and this bottom cleat, and a lot of added screws to this cleat. And then up here, sorry about the sun bleeding from behind, that cleat has split pretty well. And that cleat's got an added screw, but still doesn't seem to be making really good contact with the baffle. And then on the speakers, there are places where the original screw is missing, and they've screwed into the particle board from this side, and I have no assurance that that's reliable. Places where there's nothing. Places where the old screw's there, but nuts aren't there anymore. And I need to take these speakers out and examine the condition of the wood there. And I say wood loosely. Particle board. So let me remove the speakers and see what we're up against, and I'll probably pull the baffle so we can do we can take a look at everything involved here. All right, so let's start by loosening. I think I'll start by loosening the screws rather than the nuts. Very small screws. And given the sag and non-straight lines in the grill cloth, I'm pretty sure that whoever took the old screws out and screwed in from this side removed the grill cloth to do that and put it back on. Didn't do a great job, but it is a difficult job to do well. Alright, now let's get in here and remove these nuts. I'm filming all this as I go in case I see anything worth mentioning. If not, I'll speed back the playback for a little bit. Speed up the playback for a little bit. That one was totally loose. On this one, the screw itself is totally loose in the wood. I'm pushing up from the other side as best as I can so that the nut will come off. With the nut, it's a little bit rough on the threads, which is why that screw is pushed down. That screw is shorter than the others. It's actually pushing into the grill cloth from the other side. I can physically move it with my finger back into the wood. But all this I'm doing right now, whether we fix this cabinet or replace this cabinet, these old Jensen C12Ns, actually it's C12Qs. The owner said C12N, but no, it's a C12Q. From 67, I think that's the year code on that. No, I'm sorry, 68. C12Qs need to be removed anyway, so let's take these out. And I'm doing an inspection on these, and it's been badly patched here, here, and here on this one, and one old gummy rubber cement patch here. And there's some water damage. I'm going to talk to the owner about these. There's another one here. I can have these professionally and very well reconed for about $75 each. And all these problems will go away. The cone material has got little bitty fractures in it here. So I think it is actually time. The owner says that they sound good. That's possible that he likes that sound, but I don't think that they are long for this world in the current state, and they would only sound better with all these problem areas removed. So it'll be his call, but I think it'd be well worth it. Anyway, let's get in here and remove the baffle. Giant screw put in at an angle. That's why this cleat over here broke. Just split off. Tiny little compression washer like that's going to do a damn bit of good in that wood. We got like 1, 2, 3, 8 screws in this bottom board, and not a single one of them is really grabbing wood. This one here is just free spinning. We'll get it out in a minute. It has more friction against the cleat than it does into the baffle. Anyway, let's pull the baffle and see what we're up against here. All right, down here you can see the screw that wants to go back out into the grill cloth. That's very common in all these. Here, where those screws were added, that particle board is just gone. It's just physically not there to grab onto. Same for all these areas. Down here, 8 screws grabbing nothing. That either were just catching the edge, in which case there's nothing there to catch, or the old holes have just disintegrated. And that's the case for all of these. And it's the same reason I don't trust those screws that were screwing through the from the back of the cab into this particle board. There's just nothing reliable to grab that'll bear the weight. These old screws were supposed to be threaded from the other side in such a way that they could not be turned clockwise from this side. But what happens is the MDF on the other side gives way, and then these things move up and down. So at the very least, I would recommend a new baffle for this amp. Now it's possible I could take this to my buddy who does guitar work, though he's backlogged for forever, and he could take this grill cloth off and put T-nuts in the back and do all kinds of epoxy stuff. But given what he has to charge an hour and what I charge an hour to do all that, it makes a lot more sense to, if the rest of the cab checks out okay, to replace this baffle from Mojo Tone, because it's not very expensive. I can get a suitable grill cloth, aged a little bit, and then just transfer the logo. Let's look at the cabinet itself, because I think in this case, realistically, it's just not cost effective to try to fix this old baffle that was cheap material to begin with. And everything that we would be able to do for this is a very expensive Band-Aid. So realistically, this baffle at least is a goner. Let's look at the cabinet. All right, this bottom right corner protector has original screw here. And then beneath the foot, there's a replaced screw. Okay, that non-original screw on this protective corner was too long and came into the cavity here and wedged between the front baffle and the cleat that's supposed to hold it. And once that happens, no amount of screwing here could bring that flush, could bring that tight, because there's just, there's that big piece of metal here, and the screw at some point is not going to be able to keep gripping into the particle board, and the particle board just gives way, and you can see residue here from that. So this screw needs to be replaced with a shorter one, a correct short one. Ah, crap, it's a nail. Carefully tap that out without damaging the cleat. Put in the proper screw, put the foot back. and no more hunk of metal preventing the baffle from flushing up to the cleats. And looking at this front cleat, it seems to be okay. It's just a length of pine that was glued and stapled to the cabinet. You can see some of the staples here. And it seems to be okay in all its, let me take off the autofocus crap. It seems to be just fine. I said take off the autofocus crap. Sorry. So I think the baffle, the cleat is okay. Doesn't have any movement, doesn't have any cracks. So if we get a new baffle for this, this cleat will secure it. Now let's look at this cleat here. This is the one that's got a big chunk out of it because they put that huge screw in at an angle. And the toe X is a little bit loose here. I can glue that down. This cleat's got a pretty good size split in it here as a result of that oversized screw. I'm sure they didn't pre-drill. Aside from the fact that these holes were not pre-drilled, this one was not pre-drilled properly. It's got a minor split there. I can use a syringe to get some wood glue down there and clamp it. I think this cleat and this cleat are okay. And I think the cab overall is okay. It does not need to be replaced. So let me take another look at that first cleat that we looked at. There's an old nail here. Nothing on the other side. I don't know whether it was put in from this side and the head broke off, or put in before the toe was put in. But I'll nip that flesh. That doesn't need to be there. Anyway, this cleat, I'm not confident that this could be clamped and glued and be secure. So I think what we need to do is I'll take measurements on this. It is just a piece of pine. Plywood would work just fine for that. Looks to be 3/4 by an inch by 5 inches, whatever. I think if I just break this off from the glue clamp beneath it, remove the staples, sand any bits of wood that might be sticking to it, get it flush. I could probably do that myself without having to take this to my buddy, who everyone else in the world would call a luthier. He says he is not, because he does not build guitars from a tree up, and that is his definition of that. But I think using his services for this might be overkill, because this is nothing that you need to use a specialized tool for. So I think we just need to replace this cleat and get a new baffle for this. So let me see where I can get the correct size baffle for a Pro Reverb, and I can reglue any loose Tolex bits here and there, and we'll keep the bill to a minimum, hopefully.